It is exactly 8 a.m. in the Strait of Hormuz. The calm morning is shattered by a violent flash of heat. From the jagged cliffs of Keshem Island, 6 trails of fire tear into the sky. These are not warning shots. These are Noor anti-ship missiles accelerating to Mach speeds. Their target is massive, nuclear-powered, and carrying 5,000 American souls, the USS Eisenhower. Inside the ship, the world turns red. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is not playing games. They have launched a strike designed to sink the pride of the United States Navy before breakfast. Vampire! Vampire! Inbound! Alarm scream! Distance to impact is 90 seconds. Radar operators stare at the screens, but something is wrong. The missiles are jerking and shifting like they are seeing ghosts. This is not just an attack, it is a test. Iran is betting that in these narrow waters, a billion-dollar United States warship is a sitting duck. They believe they have the ultimate trap. They think they have the Navy cornered. They have no idea that the panic they see is actually a trap waiting to snap shut. If you want to see how a digital war turns into a physical nightmare, hit subscribe now. You do not want to miss what happens at minute 15. To understand why 5,000 sailors are barely breathing right now, you have to look at the map. The Strait of Hormuz is not the open ocean. It is a choke point. It is narrow, surrounded by hostile cliffs, and absolutely perfect for an ambush. For decades, the United States Navy has owned these waters, but today, the enemy has changed the rules. They are not just using missiles, they are using Russian-made electronic noise. At 8:05 a.m., the radar picture on the USS Gravely, the destroyer protecting the carrier, goes haywire. The enemy turns on massive mobile jammers called avobeza. Suddenly, the radar does not show 6 missiles, it shows 5,000. Imagine trying to shoot a bullet at a flying coin while someone shines a laser pointer directly into your eyes. That is exactly what the Aegis combat system is facing. The screens are filled with ghost tracks. These are false targets and digital hallucinations. The computer does not know what is real and what is fake. It is a blinding storm of white noise. Down in the control room, the captain has a split-second choice that could end his career or end their lives. If he fires his interceptors at the ghosts, he wastes millions of dollars and runs out of ammo in 2 minutes. Then, when the real missiles arrive, the carrier is defenseless. It is a game of high-stakes poker with American lives on the line. The enemy is betting on chaos. They want the Americans to panic and empty their magazines at nothing. But on the bridge of the Eisenhower, the order is given to hold fire and wait. To the young sailors watching the screens, this command feels like suicide. The red dots are closing in fast. But the captain knows something the enemy does not know. In a fight against a digital god, panic is the fastest way to a funeral. He is betting on his training, and he is praying that the ghosts disappear before the metal hits the meat. At 8:10 a.m., the silence on the bridge is heavier than the steel hull itself. The distance closes to 5,000 yards. The missiles are screaming in, and every sailor knows that impact is seconds away. On the screens, the red dots merge into a single line of death. Then, the USS Gravely makes its move. It does not fire a defensive missile. Instead, it launches a swarm of Nolka rounds into the air. These are special hovering drones that hang in the sky. To the human eye, they look small, but to a radar seeker, they are blinding. Think of it this way. You are standing in a pitch-black room holding a single candle. Suddenly, someone turns on a massive stadium floodlight 10 yards away from you. The Nolka drones act exactly like that floodlight. They broadcast a customized electronic signal that is huge. It is brighter, louder, and more attractive than the aircraft carrier itself. The Iranian missile seekers are simple machines programmed to hit the biggest target they can find. Suddenly, the massive USS Eisenhower looks invisible to them, and the tiny drones look like the main prize. On the visual sensors, the crew watches the incoming missiles swerve hard. They hook sharply to the left, chasing the decoys, and splash harmlessly into the empty ocean. It is a billion-dollar ambush defeated by a flying robot. A collective breath is released in the command center. But the celebration is cut short. The enemy commanders on the cliffs are watching the battle with their own eyes. They realize their high-tech radar missiles just failed against American technology. So, They switch to a method that is much older and much scarier. They go to manual control. They deploy the Zulfikar fleet. Dozens of high-speed attack boats swarm out of the caves like angry wasps. They are not using radar anymore. They are using men with binoculars and radios to guide the next wave of missiles by hand. The digital shield is now useless. You cannot jam a human eye. The giant carrier is starting to run out of room to move. The electronic maze has just become a physical cage. The captain looks at his tactical officer. They both know the truth. The digital game is over. The physical fight is about to begin. The giant is starting to run out of room to maneuver. If you were the commander of the Gravely, would you risk your remaining interceptors on the Ghosts or wait until you can see the white of their eyes? At exactly 8:15 a.m., the United States Navy switches from passive defense to total execution. To stop the Iranian second wave, the American Godbrain identifies the critical weak link. It is the high-speed Zulfikar boats acting as the optical eyes for the enemy fleet. Two F-18 Super Hornets roar off the deck of the Eisenhower, hitting combat speed in seconds. These are not just fighter jets, they are high-altitude surgeons. Using their advanced radars and data integration, the pilots begin a systematic removal of the Iranian spotting network. It is a brutal display of asymmetric dominance. The Iranian fast boats are built for 70-knot sprints, but they lack any real armor. They are turned into titanium confetti by a rain of precision fire and 20mm Vulcan rounds. The Super Hornets do not just sink the vessels, they blind the missile operators on the cliffs, effectively plucking the eyes out of the enemy strike package. It is like a heavyweight boxer reaching out and simply blinding his opponent before the first punch is even thrown. In the world of high-stakes naval combat, the closest ally of Moscow just learned that speed is a liability when you are being tracked by a digital god of war. But the desperation of the enemy has reached a fever pitch. As their spotting network goes dark, they launch their most lethal salvo, 12 Noor missiles in a sea-skimming attack. These Mach-speed assassins are flying a mere 10 feet above the swells. They are weaving through the white-capped crests of the Hormuz waves to hide within the sea clutter. They are exploiting the curvature of the Earth, utilizing the physical chaos of the ocean as a cloak to bypass the American destroyers. The tactical situation has turned critical in a heartbeat. These 12 Predators are no longer chasing digital phantoms. They have achieved a physical lock and are screaming toward the hull of the Eisenhower. The distance is down to a mere 5 miles. That is less than 30 seconds from potential impact. The F-18s are too high to intercept. The escort ships are stretched to their limits. The massive armada is suddenly staring down the throat of a billion-dollar execution. The digital shield is being challenged by a wall of waves and fire, and the world is one heartbeat away from total chaos. Do you think the jets can dive fast enough to intercept these wave skimmers? Or is the Eisenhower about to take its first hit? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned because the final layer of the American shield is about to be tested in a way no one expected. At 8:30 a.m., the Strait of Hormuz is about to become a funeral for American naval pride. Despite the airstrike, one Iranian missile has done the impossible. It is a 13-foot Predator flying just above the waves. It has skimmed beneath the radar, bypassed the outer escort ring, and is now screaming toward the USS Eisenhower. This is the nightmare scenario. The world's most expensive warship is looking down the throat of a Mach-speed execution. Inside the ship, the silence is terrifying. Every sailor holds their breath, waiting for the final line of defense, the Phalanx CIWS. This radar-guided Gatling gun is the shield of last resort. But as the missile closes to 1,000 yards, the unthinkable happens. The barrels remain frozen. A massive surge of electronic interference has flooded the sensors, causing a hardware lock. The American computer brain is choked by digital white noise at the exact microsecond it needs to fire. It is a moment of total tactical humiliation. The giant is blinded and stripped of its last shield. Brace for impact. The order rips through the speakers. For the sailors on deck, it feels like a death sentence. They can see the orange fire of the missile exhaust tearing through the mist, just 500 feet from the hull. The air is thick with the scent of impending doom. To any observer, the United States Navy has just lost its king. The clock is at zero. At exactly 8:35 a.m., just 2 seconds before a billion-dollar catastrophe turns into an international tragedy, the USS Gravely executes a maneuver that defies the laws of physics and the limits of its own hull. The destroyer performs a violent, bone-jarring swerve, physically positioning itself as a titanium shield between the incoming missile and the Eisenhower. This is the bodyguard's ultimate counterstrike. It is a move so aggressive that it nearly capsizes the escort ship in the heavy swells. The rolling airframe missile system on the Gravely screams to life in a way that naval textbooks claim is impossible at this range. Boom! The Iranian missile is shredded into a cloud of fire and titanium confetti just 200 feet from the carrier's hull. The massive shockwave rattles the reinforced windows of the Eisenhower, and burning debris rains down onto the flight deck, but the hull remains intact. The giant is saved by the skin of its teeth, but the victory is hollow. The American escort ring is exhausted. The Gravely and its sister ships have spent nearly every interceptor in their vertical launch cells to swat away the saturation swarm, and Tehran knows it. Hidden back in the jagged caves of Qeshm Island, Iranian commanders are already loading their backup launchers for a final, total annihilation strike. The shield is cracked, the defenders are running on empty, and the world is holding its breath as the Guard prepares to throw its last punch against a giant that has finally run out of shields. Do you think the sacrifice of the USS Gravely was worth it if the fleet is now left defenseless? Or did the Navy just delay the inevitable? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned because the Eisenhower is about to make a move that will change the rules of intimidation forever. At 8:45 a.m., the Strait of Hormuz has become a modern coliseum where the world's oil supply is the prize and a nuclear-powered supercarrier is the target. But instead of retreating to the safety of the open Arabian Sea, the USS Eisenhower does the unthinkable. It stops dead in the water, directly in the center of the throat. This is the ultimate silent intimidation. Every ship in the strike group suddenly goes full active, lighting up every radar with enough electromagnetic power to cook a bird in midair. It is an electronic shout across the Gulf. We are still here. We are still watching, and we are waiting for your next move. To military observers, it is a terrifyingly calm gesture, like a gunfighter holstering his weapon and simply staring down his opponent in the middle of a dusty street. Inside the Iranian command bunkers, the atmosphere is a mix of greed and absolute panic. They see the USS Eisenhower as a wounded beast that has finally run out of room to maneuver. Believing they have a historic chance to humiliate the Great Satan, the Guard mobilizes its final all-in salvo. Every remaining land-based launcher on Qeshm Island is brought to hot status. Hundreds of missiles are prepped for an annihilation strike that would turn the strait into a burning graveyard. It is a high-stakes standoff where the world is one heartbeat away from nuclear escalation. Tehran believes they are dictating the start of World War III. Who will pull the trigger first in this 100,000-ton poker game? Let us know your predictions. At exactly 9 a.m., the Iranian commanders press the launch buttons for their intended checkmate. They expect the ground to shake. They expect the sky to burn. But the night turns into a digital tomb. Instead of the roar of rocket engines, their command screens go pitch black. The launch codes fail. The targeting data vanishes. The entire network is replaced by a single unblinking word in white text. Goodbye. While the missiles were flying, United States cyber warfare units had already infiltrated the enemy network. The Americans did not just fight the arrows, they broke the bow. The battle ends not with a bang, but with a blank screen. The USS Eisenhower sails on, untouched. This simulation proves the absolute reality of the United States Navy. In the modern ocean, if you cannot win the electronic war, you are already dead. It is not about steel, it is about silicon. But what happens when the enemy is a rival superpower with jammers better than our own? That is a story for the next briefing. Hit like and subscribe so you never miss the next high-stakes report. The sensors are hot. Thank you for watching.